again, I had to look back a little bit to provide the context. But listen, Wenger was never the biggest problem come the end of his reign at Arsenal. He was the shield to the biggest problem, and he took that mantle on, full chest. He lied to us, telling us nonsense to our faces, and we had to eat it because of the credit in the bank. But the reality is, he was protecting this ownership. 2018, the decision to move him on. We finished outside the Champions League 2 years in a row. Not good enough. It's actually affecting the pockets of the Kroenkes. A year later, Wenger has a chance to he brings out a book. He has a chance to, I was eagerly anticipating this book. He has a chance to open up a bit. I don't understand it, but I can understand it a little, siding with the people that are paying you. That's what he did towards the end. He instead of being real with the fans, he started talking shit for the owners, and he was getting paid well for it. One of the highest paid managers in Europe. Let's not forget that he was the highest paid in the league for many years, I think. So imagine that without winning anything, without winning any majors. So I thought this book's going to come out, and it's his chance now, a year and a half on, to expose a little bit, not necessarily expose wholeheartedly, because you obviously got some connection there, because you haven't came out to speak about it since. But I expected you to be a bit more open about, what happened. Instead, he avoided the subject completely, didn't really talk about it. And the same day, Josh Kroenke come out and said, we never denied Wenger funds. So the same day, Wenger had a chance in his book release to talk a bit about the situation and why it panned out like that. He chose not to. Maybe it's because he's classy. Maybe it's all of this nonsense, because it wasn't classy what they did to him. Yeah, maybe that's his choice. The same day, it's not a coincidence, Josh comes out and says, we didn't deny him funds. So that whole era now, all I know, the facts are, Wenger had a chance to speak, didn't speak. Josh comes out and says, we never denied him funds. So really and truly, I might have been taught, judging off those facts, those two facts, Wenger not speaking, Josh putting it on him, it looks like I'm chatting shit. That the owners... But you can't do that again, Josh. You can't do that again, Stan. I'm not hearing that with Mikel in 2-3 years. You come out and say, we never denied him no funds. No, not again. You might have done that with Wenger. I don't believe you. But cool. That was your excuse once. There's no excuse again, because you step in as good owners. You identify that maybe the manager needs a little something. Maybe you talk to the sporting director. You cannot leave everything and just not learn from the mistakes you made in the past. And that's seemingly in the summer what happened. But then what happens? Arteta signs a contract, and amongst signing that contract, he starts talking. The best owners in the world, I haven't seen nothing like them. That's a complete and utter lie. That is a lie, because he's worked at Man City. So we know that's a lie. But because they've supported him, because they've, giving him that contract when he was on the losing run at the end of the 21-22 season or around that. That was a big thing for him. I get it. Put myself in his shoes. I'm losing pressure on me, and my owner say, here's a new contract. Fair enough. But he's talking from a personal perspective now when he says best owners in the world. Don't tell the fans they're the best owners in the world, because even there are other clubs that people use to justify Arsenal are next. Arsenal have been next, apparently, for the last 2 years. Denver Nuggets have won one thing in 20-something years. LA Rams have won one thing in 20-something years. That Polo, whatever other fucking sport he owns, they've won one something in 20 years. So if I'm going to judge it by then and say, okay, we might be next. What, one in 20 years? And then what? What's happened to Nuggets? What's going on with Rams now? What's happened since they've won their titles? So I'm not here for one and done after 20 years. Fuck all that. That ain't acceptable. But obviously, we want that one first. But I'm sorry, but one doesn't take the pressure off these owners when if we eventually get there. First and foremost, genuinely, my first feeling is between sadness and frustration. Because last season, at times, even the season before early on, but last season in particular, that was some of the most efficient football I've ever seen this club play. At times, I won't say some of the best looking, because we had the Invincibles in that era, Wenger, handbrake off and all that. But in terms of goals, defense, the balance, the domination, keeping the ball, and just nullifying the opposition. It was some of the best football I've seen from this club. And towards the end of the season, I thought City would drop points in one game. More for me, they didn't. But after the Villa loss, which I still thought City would drop points in one game, I said if we win the remaining games, we win the league. It didn't happen. We did win the remaining games, but City didn't drop points. So all in all, I looked at last season as it was a tough one to take. It was a tough one to take, but now we know. We've seen Liverpool go toe to toe with them. We know what they need. But let's not forget that Havertz and Rice were two key signings going into a season of expectation. Now, Rice had a great season. Havertz had a great a good half season, or a very good, or whatever, man, before people melt down. So I thought, all right, I'm gonna Havertz for me is an L. That I can say he improved in the second half and he played his part, but overall that transfer was an L because we didn't win the league. And in my opinion, if we had bought a better striker or a better option, we might have had a better chance, because in that first half in both Villa games we should have been 2 up, but we wasn't, because we wasn't clinical. Now, obviously, football's not like that. You can't just say, oh, you have a striker, you win those games, or you get more points. What about other games where Havertz played a part? That's true as well, but I just feel like a better option would have. So I feel like, okay, we bought 100 million, man, and we bought in our highest paid player. We fell just short game week 38, fine. But I don't forget that you got it wrong with the number 8, who you turned into a striker, who now really is our highest paid player and needs to be on the bench. But I'm going to overlook that because the focus now isn't how that's going to impact us in 2 years contractually and wage structure wise. I'm going to focus on this season, because I already know that contract means Saka's going to ask for 300. Saliba's going to ask for more. Odegaard's going to ask for more, because they have to be on more than Havertz. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, there is no answer to, boss, I need to be on more than that guy. Don't you think? The answer is yes. Yeah, the answer is yes. So we fucked ourselves there. But I said, let's focus on this season coming. What did you get wrong? What do you need? Cool. We must bring a striker. I even said at the end of last season, if we don't win the league this year, we'll win a major by next year. Because I just thought the club, I'm seeing some quality football, efficient football, and we're 1 or 2 pieces away again. Again, more for me, because we've been 1 or 2 pieces away before. But I just thought, you know what, this time this club has to do it. Even if it is to get that 1 in 20 years and call it a day, like they've done with their other franchises. Let's just get what we need to get done. Then I see the transfer window unfold. I made a point of not speaking about it much throughout the window and not giving too much panic or worry, because I thought, let's just see. But the weeks dragged. I mean, Sesko, news came, news went, and then all of a sudden we're signing a left centre-back from Bologna that had an ACL 18 months prior to play him left back. Yeah, doesn't make sense to me. And then we move into number 8, which we needed, but we take a hell of a long time with this number 8. All whilst we're asking, where's the attacker we need? Because we've seen Emil Smith-Rowe go, Vieira go, Nelson go, Eddie Nketiah go. So where's the attacker coming in? Because, fine, we wanted them all kind of gone, but we wanted them replaced, not just gone with the wind and that's it. Yeah. But the weeks dragged. Arteta comes and says, we're light the week before the transfer window ends. We're light. He said it. We signed fucking Raheem Sterling. Now Arteta comes out and says, I needed 10 minutes with him to know that he was ready. More PR bullshit. Cool. We know you didn't want him. You said you didn't want him. You was asked, do you want him? You said no. So miss me with that 10-minute bullshit, but you've taken it on like Wenger used to do. 10-minute conversation, cute, nice. All right, make it work then, Mikel. And then he signs the contract and says, best owners in the world, never seen nothing like it. Cool. But then the football on show this season, you can see over coaching, over tinkering, overthinking. One Odegaard injury can't change up the whole approach of the side. That proves that you don't have enough in the tank. That literally proves that you didn't do enough in the window. Where's Nwaneri? Why are you not start? I told people you can't really rely on a 17-year-old, albeit I want him to start now too, because I'm sick of what I'm seeing. But we ain't closing the gap on City and now Liverpool with a 17-year-old playing amongst players that we've had to wait 6 years to grow and get experience. We're now giving them another 17-year-old in a place. So Arteta's got a lot of that on him. Whether it was his decisions or not, I could argue for and against. But once you say I had 10 minutes with him and I knew he was the guy, and once you say best owners, I'm happy and I get everything I want, I can't talk about the Kroenkes as much as I'd like to because you've taken it off them. So let's talk about the football. We've gone backwards. We haven't got that fear factor no more. A fear factor can take 2 seasons to build. Generally, it probably takes 2 seasons to build for teams to be like, these men are serious. It can take 10 game weeks to evaporate. It's a gift and it's the gift and the curse of it. I mean, once you have that fear factor, teams, lose it off the pitch more time because of their approach, because of the nerves, overthinking about us. Now teams are licking their lips, thinking, all right, we can pull off something here. Because don't forget when we were shit, teams loved beating us because online it was sick. They could put TikToks out, they could put this out, would be vexed, everyone would click. We're the most clickable team. So these teams already have a motivation to pull something out the bag, but they haven't had that last 2 years because we've been pretty solid as a unit. Now it's opening up a little bit. Arteta's got a big job on his hands in the next few weeks because we have to win the next 10 games. The next 10 games takes us to January 14th. I mean 10 league games. I ain't looking at anything until the next 10 league games. If we don't win the next 10 league games, then there ain't no chance. There ain't no chance. Albeit I don't think there's a chance now. But people will argue that it's still very early. But we must win the next 10 games. So he has to figure it out. Like last season, he figured it out, Dubai or whatever, and the Havertz move. He has to figure it out. Maybe Calafiori plays on the left wing, and maybe we put Gabriel up top. Yeah, maybe that's the one he figures out this time because we ain't fucking got the necessary pieces to win this.
Whole left-hand side looks dead, bro.
It does.
Looks absolutely dead. And Martinelli is affected by that. And I'm not going to start making excuses for him because he needs to look at his performances as well individually. But this left-hand side is awful, man.
Close to being done with Martinelli, man. Seriously,
Yeah,
man. The tactics is one thing, but when you've got the ball and the defender's right in front of you, like, just fucking do something. Just do something. And far too often, it's just he hasn't progressed. I mean, I look at him, I look at Havertz and Trossard as potentially great. I mean, with Trossard, great bench player. I think Havertz and Martinelli could be great bench players as well.
I agree.
But it goes back to left wing striker. We know we needed that already. We're talking about that again. It's just not good enough. But you are right. And to be honest, I've just got a message about Ben White having an op and being out for a good few weeks. So, yeah.
He hasn't been fit for months, bro. Like, he hasn't been fit for ages. You can see. Like, this is the problem we've got. We've got all these injuries on top of it, but our squad ain't good enough to compete with it. And this is what I've been saying. The squad actually isn't that great. It's quite overrated by some of our fan base, in my opinion. I'm not talking about people overrating Saka and these, man. I'm talking about people saying, oh, yeah, well, we've got Sterling to come in. We've got Jesus to come in. We've got Zinchenko to come in. We've got, Jorginho to come in. Come on, man. Like, is this where we've got to in 5 years? And I've got to say, I look at what is happening right now, and I just think, go and buy me a Kvaratskhelia and an Isak or a Gyökeres. Otherwise, we ain't going anywhere next. Because
100%.
these are the sort of signings we need to be looking at now. Not this, do you think that maybe, a Raheem Sterling can come and do a job for a couple of years? I'm done with those days. Because we've done this before for years, bro. I've had signings like Denis Suarez and Kim Kallstrom come into the club as stopgaps. Yeah? And, I've got to say this. I wanted to ask you on the Edu thing quickly before I come into that. Bruv, we are in a position at the moment where a lot of fans were getting very, very pissed off with Arsene Wenger and the regime putting players on ridiculous wages that we couldn't move and shift out of the club that we were stuck with. I would argue we're going close towards that again because some of the injury-prone players at this club that need to be moved on are on unbelievable wages. Don't worry about Havertz, who's on 290, by the way. Worry about Jesus, who's on 265. Worry about Tomiyasu and Zinchenko, that are on about 190 or something crazy like that. Kieran Tierney's on 135 a week or something mad like that. Yeah? These players are not going to leave because we've stuck them on ridiculous wages again. So when we've gone and got rid of the Mustafis and the Kalasanachis, I know they were worse than these players I've mentioned, but they were on crazy wages. Now we're doing the same thing. We ain't learning. we're sticking these injury-prone players on ridiculous wages and then wondering why no one's going to buy them. Thomas Partey, yeah, he's on 250 a week or something mad. Now, he's been brilliant this season. I'll be more than happy to keep him if he keeps fit. But if we had to get rid of this guy, it's going to be difficult because he's on unbelievable wages. So Mikel having total control and ownership of it is going to be like basically a mini Arsene Wenger again. And I think it's a bad idea. We need to replace Edu now, in my opinion, with someone coming in with an experienced head. If it's Tim Steinson from West Ham, I'd rather that than Thomas Rosicky or Per Mertesacker, who's Mikel's mate. Do you know what I'm saying? Someone to challenge him. Someone to say, look, Mikel, I don't know if you're doing the right thing here. I'll back you all the way, but you need a bit of this. Do you know what I'm saying?
Another example of the Kroenkes not knowing what the hell they're doing is, don't forget, towards the end of Wenger, the common theme was we need to, relieve the whole manager role. It's about head coaches and sporting directors now. It's a tandem. It's, you get two people to work their magic. And Wenger was talking about what's a sporting director, traffic lights, and all of this stuff, right? That was a big thing. Wenger goes, basically gets shown the door. Emery comes in, head coach. Raul Sanllehi is the sporting director. That's the new approach, right? It lasted 18 months. 18 months, Arteta comes in. He's head coach for 6, and then he gets offered the manager role. So a 2-year turnaround. So you identified the problem as being this guy's got too much power. He's manager. He needs help. He needs a voice. He needs a sporting director. You let him go, and then 2 years later, you're back in that same position, giving Arteta the role from head coach to manager because he's obviously asked for more responsibility and whatnot to take. That just, you know what? I'm not saying they was wrong in doing that because Arteta, since that and over the last 2 years, like I said, the expectation has risen. So an argument can be made is that he's put us in a good position. Even if he was to be sacked now, the expectation is still to, in the next 2 years, win the league for the next manager. If it is to be that, if it's a complete capitulation this season. But yeah, I mean, we're some way off that right now. So it's a difficult one, man, because the cups ain't done yet either. And when I say cups, I mean Champions League is the one I'm really looking at. And when I think about the Champions League, I laugh internally because it's all that for us is complete luck of the draw. And even if you get luck of the draw, like our European performances under Arteta since Europa League to now has been far from good. Olympiacos, Sporting, Villarreal, even last season Bayern Munich. I think we should have put up a bit more of Saturn against them, but we didn't have the tools, whatever. So our performances in Europe haven't been good enough over the years for me to.
Away from home, he's in his last 5. He's lost 4 and he hasn't scored in any of them.
Away from home, last 5. Yeah, lost 4. Okay, well there you go.
Porto, Inter Milan, draw to Atalanta 0-0, and then he's obviously lost to Inter Milan, and there's one more as well. Must be the other champion. Oh, Bayern Munich. Sorry, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it ain't good enough in Europe. And look, a lot of people ask me, what do you want, Premier League or Champions League? I always used to say Premier League, but I just so want that Champions League to shut City and Chelsea fans up who still think they're bigger than us, right? Because we win that and they can't say nothing to me. They can't say nothing to me anyway, in my opinion. But if we win that, then they really can't. So for me, that's why I want the Champions League this season over the Premier League. I think the Premier League, we're going to need a near miracle now. We're going to need Liverpool and City to really crumble in a couple of periods of their season. And domestic cups, I never think. I know you're not for the Carabao Cup. I've always liked the League Cup. It's one of the first things I saw as win. So I've always believed it had history, and I'm happy with the league and the FA Cup, etc. But we've got to be challenging at the very top to be doing that as well. Otherwise, I don't know where this goes, man.
Don't listen. I do sometimes go too far with the League Cup. I do look at it as a cup to look at your youngsters. I've enjoyed the League Cup this season more than most in the Emirates era because it has a big Lewis Skelly and Ranieri and other young players here and there. Cool. That's what it's about for me. But I'd like to win it. But I also know our fan base, Dan. We go and win the League Cup, finish 4th and nothing else. Best believe there won't be no pressure from this fan base. Best believe that League Cup will be looked at as some mad thing. Because that's just the general. That's just what we do as a family. Like I say we because we are Arsenal fans, but the League Cup cannot be used at the end of the season as a metric of success and an acceptable progression from the last 2 seasons of challenging for a league title. The League Cup is not that. So I like the League Cup, but I always have to caveat that with saying, listen, don't give me the League Cup and ask me am I full. I'm definitely not going to be full come May. That's without a doubt. So I like it, win it, but it's for me it's May is where you win the big ones. Where are you
That's
in
fair.
May?
That's fair. And look, I've always said win that Carabao because then, or the League Cup, whatever you want to call it, because then winning breeds confidence to go and win something else in May. And you ask Pep and Jose that they did that all the time with Chelsea and Man City, right? So for me, that's why I believe that we should be winning it. And let's be real, bro. The teams left in it, we should win this cup now. It
Hmm.
should be our name on it in May. Well, it's not May, is it? February, March. It
But
should be our
Liverpool,
name on it. Yeah, Liverpool in it, but I still believe that we can on our day beat them. I look at our squad and I think that I've got respect for Liverpool and always have, and I thought they'd be in a title race this season again. But all the other teams, we should be blitzing them, man.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
we're better than Tottenham, we're better than United, we're better than Newcastle. Don't give me any of this crap about our. I mean, we should be beating Palace by the way at home. So don't know, oh yeah, but you've got these team in it, this team in it. Nah, man, we go and win this competition. That's what we should be doing. We're
Yeah.
starved of trophies right now. This is too long. This is the longest trophy drought we've had in a decade, bro. So I can't be looking at it going, oh yeah, nah, don't worry about League Cups and FA Cups. Put them in the bin and we'll go for the big boys. Nah, none of that crap, man. Not for me. So that's the way I see it, man. Look,
Hmm.
I wanted to come to a sort of close with this section about Edu because I don't know what your thoughts are. A lot of people believe that it's a good thing he went. Some people saying it's a bad thing he went. Other people are saying something's going on behind the scenes here. How do you look at this situation and what do we do now? Because everyone wants signings in January. We ain't got a sporting director at the moment.
I don't give a shit, Dan. I'm not gonna use this as no excuse. For me, cool. You're gone. What's next? Sort it out. But we still need to win something. We still need to buy a player in January. I'm not having Edu leaving as an excuse for it because you've been selling us this whole process for years. So surely, not like the team when Odegaard comes out, everything changes. Surely Edu coming out of this, everything doesn't change because surely the process has made sure that it's not all about one man or two man. Surely the process has made sure it's about the whole cogs behind the scenes working in conjunction. So Edu's gone. Cool. Was it a success? I'd say 50-50. You can argue for and against. I think he helped in a lot of ways, but he let himself and us down in a lot of ways, especially with the outgoings. But am I going to sit here and tell you who I want next or who I don't want next? Or this club needs to win, whether Riziki comes in, whether it's Overmars, whether Raul Sanley does a U-turn, or whether we get whoever we get from whatever club. I don't care who it is, bro, because I don't want to hear no new process comes in with this new guy. I don't want to hear none of that shit. He needs to come in and be part of this process that we've been seeing for the last 4 years. And it means you continue on to what we need to continue on to win a major, sign some good fucking players.
Facts, bro. It's so facts. Like we need to get someone in with experience that can hit the ground running. And I really don't want it to be a Thomas Rosicky or a Per Mertesacker who's Arteta's mate, who's going to be working alongside him to say, "I'll support you with whatever you need, Mikel." Because Mikel actually has got quite a lot wrong. And let's not forget that Edu made some good signings, but he also made some shambolic signings, bro. You
Mm-hmm.
know, people forget about this. This is the guy who bought about 4 goalkeepers in the club that couldn't catch a cold. We're talking about someone who's brought in Lokonga and Nuntavage and what's his name up top? Fabio Vieira, Pablo Marie, Cedric. The list goes on. Like William was responsible for. Remember, yeah, when he first come in, David Luiz. So I'm not having this. Oh my God, he brought Saliba and Odegaard to the club and Declan Rice. Yes, he also bought some trash. So I need someone to come in that has experience now and that isn't just a yes man, in my opinion, man. But